Jeffrey Williams, asked any person to go to Club Compound on April 25th, 2015 with a firearm?
I have no information in reference to that.
The white Camaro that we've been talking about.
Yes, sir.
In your investigation, have any connection to Jeffrey Williams?
Not to my knowledge, no.
What? I mean, that just shits on everything the state has been trying to connect Thug to it. Days 76, 77, and 78 of the YSL trial were tedious. Detective Raissi testifies to the phone calls Jimmy Winfrey made right around the time he shot up Lil Wayne's bus. Winfrey's phone is tracked on the highway, and the state alleges he called numbers associated with Thug and Birdman. The defense lawyers then switch the narrative and give more context to the jury during cross-examination. This is the last of the Lil Wayne bus shooting, apparently, and then we're off next week for some reason, so hit subscribe. Here we go. First look at Thug on day 76. Got that cream suit on like he going to church.
The court's had an opportunity to kind of study the issue because it's come up several times. And Mr. Steele, the court is aware that you've raised this issue at least 3 times, a couple of your colleagues as well. And that's okay, and the court has no issue with that. But I just kind of want to make it clear for purposes of, there seems to be some issues about whether or not assuming that a foundation can be laid, and we've had some arguments and discussions about authenticity, and
all lawyers keep objecting to the hearsay and out of court people talking that they can't cross-examine. Judge basically letting these statements to them because it's a co-conspirator statement.
The admissibility of said statements, most of them come in under statements of a party opponent. This being a different type of case, since a conspiracy has been pled or has been sought in the state's indictment as part of count 1, these statements also come in, and it's the court's opinion, and we've had some discussions about this, about whether or not they come in for co-conspirator statements. To prove up a statement made by one co-conspirator in order to use it against another co-conspirator, there needs to be evidence of the following elements. 1, prior to the current trial, the defendant participated in a criminal agreement. 2, a confederate of the defendant made a declaration in furtherance of the conspiracy while the conspiracy was active and ongoing. 3, a witness who heard the conspiracy made the remark, testifies to it, and the content of the declaration is relevant to the case. At this point in time, after hearing 70-something witnesses, in the court's opinion, has established by preponderance of evidence, at least for the purposes of co-conspirator statements, that that's been established.
The judge is looking a little musty, so I'm thinking he needs some Scentbird fragrances. Scentbird lets you choose a new designer fragrance every month for only $16.95. And here's the deal. If you scan my QR code right now or use my link down below, you can get it for only $8 for your first month. Scentbird has over 700 fragrances you can choose from, so you could always pick a new fragrance each month if you wanted to. These vials are really small and compact, and all you do is twist it to unlock it, and then you can spray yourself. They're super convenient for traveling or on the move. You can just put them in like a small side bag like this. So you can fit in pretty much anything. I've been using these for a few months now, and I've gotten tons of compliments. And it's nice because you don't really have to commit to one big bottle and spend hundreds of dollars on one big bottle. You can pick different fragrances each month, which is really convenient. My favorite one right here is Icon Ice by Zur. For all the girls watching, this is a more feminine one called Mind Games the Forward. Trust me, that's a good one. I also really like Amour Leopard by Sanctuary, which is actually Scentbird's brand. This one smells really good, and it's like smoky. I love it. Scentbird does offer name brands like Prada, Gucci, or Versace, but also a giant selection of niche fragrances, so you can find your signature scent if you want to like have one personalized to you. And every month you get to pick what you want to get delivered, so there's no surprises whatsoever. But here's the deal. If you use my code CUFBOYS55 off at Scentbird.com, you can get 55% off your first month at Scentbird. I mean, so convenient. It's literally a no-brainer. Boys, this is only $8 for your first month. Completely worth every penny. Scan my QR code right now. Click the link in the description. Scentbird.com. Thanks for sponsoring the video. But come on, only $8 for your first month?
Now, whether or not the jury buys that is another thing.
So the judge thinks the conspiracy has been proven enough for these statements to come in. One of the defendants in the room, Mr. Nichols, his name hasn't been brought up once, but this has been proven against him because it's all of them.
How much time passed before he took a plea?
It was approximately a month later, or maybe a month and a day, but a month later.
Sir, do you have an objection?
She's bringing up PeWee Roscoe's plea deal that he took, but apparently his plea deal was like coerced. All right, boys, I'm back at home across the country, so they're still tracking all the phone calls that PeWee Roscoe did.
I can give you the latitude and longitude, and that's going to be of the cell tower.
What, you have an objection?
Yes,
Basis.
Using the jury, and we're getting to the point of my objection.
Okay,
We're talking about cell towers.
I got your objection.
Yeah, I can imagine that lawyers are going to be upset he's testifying about cell towers when he's just a detective. He's not an expert in that field, you know what I mean?
So the I-75, I-85 split just north of that area.
Yes, Mr. Watson, you have an objection?
Yeah,
Basis.
I do have an objection. It calls for speculation as far as the area of call and knows what the cell tower is.
Okay, speculation is your objection, not the rest of the speaking. I'm overruled objections.
I mean, it is speculation. He only knows where the cell tower is. He doesn't know where the call is.
With cell phone towers, does it give you an exact pinpoint or a radius or area?
In these records, this is a location of the tower, so we just have a radius. Going off this, we just have...
Thank you to raise the objection. Again, it's calling for expert testimony.
I would agree
He's
with
not an
that.
expert.
I'll stand objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, disregard the last statement of witness.
Yeah, then, okay, how is he sustaining that, but earlier he overruled?
another explanation, I would move to strike his entire
I just said, to disregard the last statement.
And I would move to strike the previous testimony because.
Overrule, sir. Thank you.
The judge is like going back and forth on his ruling here. Shit, I'm so over this Lil Wayne bus shooting shit. I'm so over it.
285 at I-75. Best reference point is near the Battery Brave Stadium.
All this is proving is that PeWee Roscoe called some people. They know nothing about what these people talked about, and they don't know who was even holding the phone when he called them.
On the night of April 25th, 2015 into the morning of April 26th, 2015.
Objection, Your Honor. It calls for speculation on the plot of the film versus the plot of the towers.
I'm sustaining objection.
So it calls for speculation between plotting the phone and the tower, because this guy's just going to be speculating on the answer.
Okay, on that same line, number 8, did you identify a general area?
I did.
What was that?
Objection, Your Honor. Maybe approach.
Sure.
They don't like this guy testifying like he's a cell phone data expert. All right, so Brian still has an issue with something. Here we go.
The state asked Agent Raissi whether Mr. Winfrey pled guilty shortly after the October phone call that was played over objection, where he was, where an unknown person states another unknown person stated he would get a Porsche.
Yeah, we covered that already. So you have an additional objection, sir?
So he's upset that the state is trying to make it look like PeWee Roscoe pled guilty on purpose to get a Porsche when he gets out and $250,000. Remember the audio we heard earlier? But actually PeWee's whole conviction was coerced by the judge in his case, and it got completely overturned. So there's more context to this situation, and it has nothing to do with a Porsche.
So the state said that he plead guilty, knowing.
But we covered that, Mr. Steele. We covered that. So what's the additional ruling on it?
Knowing that was not a guilty plea. That was a coerced guilty plea is not a guilty plea.
But we had a discussion at the bench, and I told you that you can inquire into that depending upon what was testified to.
My point is that was so low blow to say a month later a man who was coerced by a Superior Court judge in Cobb County pled guilty, that I don't know if I can overcome that, because the impression is that Mr. Winfrey was being rewarded for his guilty plea. The state knows that guilty plea was not.
But we don't know as I mentioned earlier at the bench, we don't know the circumstances of why that particular first guilty plea was rejected. I don't think it's relevant for our purposes. I think the state said they weren't going to get into it the second time because we covered that up at the bench. Do you have anything else you wish to add to that? I don't think the state was trying to insinuate anything.
Yes, they were. They were insinuating that.
Because it might go to bias. It might go to motive to misrepresent.
Because it doesn't go to bias. And the state knows exactly what they did. They know, and you know.
I don't. The first time that I knew that there was an appellate opinion is when you told me. And that's it. I don't have any other knowledge of that.
Well, I read every opinion, and Winfrey versus State specifically states, and it gives what happened, that the Honorable Judge Staley in Cobb County coerced a human being to enter a guilty plea. For the state of Georgia to say, did he plead guilty a month later, that to me is beyond the pale. And I would like the court.
They're not asking why, which would be improper, because it gets into evidence that would be not relevant for this particular proceeding.
I'm like so twisted in my mind. I'm retired, but I don't follow. It should never come in. It did come in. Now I have to deal with it. You tell me on cross.
I don't think you're conflating, Mr. Steele. Bottom line basis as to why the initial guilty plea was rejected by our appellate court. I'm telling you that I don't know what the basis of that. I still don't know because I didn't read the opinion. If the jury wants to believe it, is the why as to what Mr. Winfrey may or may not have gotten. And that's the only thing that I heard at this point in time.
I think that, from being a person who loves what we do and loves the courts, I think it's offensive to say and have an agent testify that a guilty plea occurred when everybody knows or should know that guilty plea is not a guilty plea, it's struck, it's vacated.
I'm kind of just telling you that the reason and rationale is not, that would be totally improper for us to get into. I would agree about that, but I don't think that was the state's intention in asking that question. So
I'm going to make a proffer then, but I was going to ask Agent Raissi. You stated that this man pled guilty. The man actually wanted to go to trial. You can say yes or no. The man was then told by Judge Staley that she doesn't see him winning. She knows the people in Cobb County. They will not like him. He will go to prison. He's going to be sentenced for X number of years, whatever the opinion says, and then he can answer the questions, and I will then ask the court to strike that testimony again like I did earlier. I understand you're telling me it's not relevant. I believe that it should have never come in the first place, and the state of Georgia has misled the jury. He did not plead guilty a month later because we do not recognize that as a guilty. When I say we, our system of what we call just was not, it was perverted.
What is a fact is that Mr. Winfrey pled a month later. What the state asked, which was my next question, and I forget how I phrased the question, did he have to plea again to the same charges? And he said yes, approximately a year later, to show that there was something that occurred and he had to plea again. But the fact remained that 1 month later, he took a plea. Now, the reason why it was overturned, or the reason why the appellate process in which the court has ordered that we cannot discuss and that we cannot get into, what Mr. Steele is speaking of, the reason why it was overturned, that is not for this for this jury to determine. They can know he pled once and then he had to plead again, which is the plea that we had. Because what I can imagine is on cross-examination, if I did not ask that question, they would have crossed him on it. And if Mr. Steele is going to go into what occurred during the appellate process, he's going to be assuming facts not in evidence because that we never asked him anything.
You kind of opened the door for it. That's not assuming facts, not evidence.
I note your objection, sir. I don't believe that those questions would be relevant for this inquiry.
Then why are they letting the jury hear that his friend said you're getting a Porsche and $250,000 when he gets out of jail? What was the purpose of them hearing that? They're literally trying to show why he pled.
That I would ever cross-examine a witness on a coerced guilty plea.
You made a proffer. That's all. I mean, I don't think we need to spend more time with it, but I'm good.
I'm going to move for a mistrial because I can't cross it in. If it's denied, can you just do what I've been doing?
I'll deny the motion for mistrial. I'll go ahead and grant you.
Immediately denied.
Yeah, the subject that's to the front of the video with the blonde or yellow tip hair, orange hair. I know him as Duke. Yes, the person who's kind of behind him right now. Yes, that's Jeffrey Williams.
And when was this video?
That was on April 25th, 2015.
And in this video, where's this video? Like, where are they?
So they're in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge at Southern University.
Okay.
You want how to go? Give me that, baby. Beat me down, you did. With them dicks, too. Yeah. Can't name the mixtape called 6, because these niggas trying to sue. Shit like some hoes. Big old bloods want to go and buy the 6.
Follow my, sorry, Judge, slime at PeWee, aka Roscoe, right now, and a lot of exclamation marks.
Okay, I want to scroll down.
Showing the jury connection between Thug and PeWee Roscoe because this is on Thug's Instagram. That's all this is. And now Thug posted a free Roscoe.
Well, just the free Roscoe, and associated with the jail phone calls.
Which jail phone call?
The one in which Mr. Winfrey spoke with Mr. Williams.
And was that the call where they were discussing the free Roscoe campaign?
Correct.
Thug's sisters with PeWee Roscoe, I believe.
Keep your mouth closed when the dawn speaks. Quiet storm more powerful than yo tongue. Fool, bankroll, mafia, you dig? YSL RG, hashtag human goat, hashtag Atlanta, hashtag da dawn, hashtag yo bitch, love me, hashtag I can't wait, hashtag you dig what I'm saying, hashtag youths, fuck them, USZ, then the F word, dem, DEM.
All right, we got Max Schardt here on the right, up for cross-examination.
And I just want to clarify. In the beginning, we were asking about where phones were located. Do you remember those questions?
I remember a question similar to that, yes, sir.
Okay. In fact, these cell phone records, these historical cell phone records, identify cell towers in the location of cell towers, not phones, correct?
So part of that statement is true, and part of that statement I would say is incorrect. The CDRs actually do a little bit more than that, but yes, they provide you with a cell tower location, and they provide you with a little bit more information regarding to the location of the phone as well.
You're talking about vectors and things of that nature?
Yes, the actual cell site directions, and yes.
Okay, but when you were talking about longitude and latitude from the cell phone records, you were talking about the longitude and latitude of the location of the cell phone tower, correct?
Correct. That's what we were allowed to discuss, yes, sir.
Not the location of particular phones.
That's correct. The specific location of the phones was not in my testimony. The cell phone is touching or communicating with that tower, and that's what the records show. Sure, they could be answered by a cell phone expert, but they would still be limited to the information that they have at hand. I was not classified an expert here in this court.
Okay. Now, as part of your... Oh, go
No, I was saying I haven't been classified as an expert today or the previous days here in this court. I probably could be qualified as an expert based off of Georgia law and expertise regarding cell phones.
As someone who says that they could probably be considered an expert, can you give us the cell tower radius of the individual cell towers that you referenced in that chart?
Okay, again, my testimony today has been limited to those records. So if I was going to testify as an expert, I would request additional data from those cell phone providers to find out which ones are on and off, and we would have to go in depth in that manner. But that was, my testimony was not, basically didn't go into that.
That would require information that you don't have to, correct?
In these records, there's not information about which towers were being used or weren't being used.
None of these pictures came from Shane Steele of Instagram, did that?
That is correct.
Did it not?
Your statement was correct. They did not, those pictures we were shown did not come from these records. That is correct.
You did not charge any other individuals for this case, did you?
That is correct.
No further questions.
Straightforward cross from Max Schardt. Thug's lawyer Brian Steele up. Lawyers are trying to show the jury that this is all conspiracy. Like, this doesn't mean it's necessarily true, and no one was charged. No one really knows who was on the other end of these phone calls.
The white Camaro that we've been talking about.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does that, in your investigation, have any connection to Jeffrey Williams?
Not to my knowledge, no.
What? He really just said not to my knowledge? Then what are we doing here? I mean, that just shits on everything the state has been trying to connect Thug to it.
That Jeffrey Williams was working and performing in another state on those days. Is that fair to say?
That's correct, sir.
Was because you associate a certain telephone to Jeffrey Williams, so you surmised that phone was with Jeffrey Williams' person.
Correct. We know that phone was owned by YSL Enterprises. That phone was in the area that we knew Jeffrey Williams to be, and we have the video evidence of him performing. So, yes, we have the connection and the belief that is in his possession, yes, sir.
Okay. And that's how you track the phone on the lower way going from Louisiana through Alabama back to the state of Georgia.
Correct, sir.
Based upon your investigation, you concluded that the 8553 number is with Jeffrey Williams during this relevant period of time?
Yes, like more likely than not, that phone is associated with YSL Enterprises. That phone was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we had reason to believe that that phone was owned or operated by Jeffrey Williams.
All right. Now, Jimmy Winfrey's number that we believe through your investigation, that ends in the 3383 number. Can you please make sure that's true?
That is true, sir.
So it's Mr. Winfrey's phone calling Mr. Jeffrey Williams' phone.
Correct, sir.
Not being answered, fair to say?
Yes, that's what appears from this one.
Okay. And there's two of them in a row, and neither time does it connect.
That's what appears.
And in
Correct.
the entire month of April of 2015, those are the, according to these records, those are the entirety of the contact between those phones.
Yes, for these records, for this number, that's correct.
Jimmy Winfrey called Thug twice, and Thug never answered.
We can't tell if there's any communication, fair to say?
There's contact. There is a time, so it was connected for a period of time, but that could be the voicemail, right? So we do see 4 seconds, but that could be again connection to voicemail.
That is the only time that these two phones are attempted to connect.
For this phone number for that month, correct.
So Brian Steele's just trying to separate Thug from PeWee Roscoe as much as he can.
You don't know whether Mr. Arnold or Duke, or YSL Duke, had that phone with him in April of 2015, do you?
No, I don't have location information, so I can't like overlay it with the video of him being in Louisiana. No.
A phone could be in the name of YSL Duke, but that phone could be with me or you. It's possible, right?
Correct. I don't know who has the device in their hand.
All right. So there is no connection between the YSL Duke, Martinez Arnold subscriber phone and Jeffrey Williams records that is in evidence. You agree with that?
The records we have, correct, sir.
All right.
Wait, I just realized this is not including FaceTime, is it? Because all these motherfuckers communicate with FaceTime. Mobile phone number calls.
If Martinez Arnold had this phone number with him while in the state of Louisiana on the relevant days, which is...
I do not know that, correct, sir.
Detective just admitted that he doesn't know if Duke had that phone on him or not.
Labeled YSL Enterprise.
You know that phone to be used by Jeffrey's sister known as Dolly. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say. That's what we believe, yes.
Tell the jurors how many items, meaning how many calls were coming or going.
It looks like 12,265.
So for the 7 months, that's approximately, can you figure out the math, how many connections per month?
Oh, yeah.
7.5 months.
Well, and we don't know if there's a peak month. I don't know that, so I would be speculating. Yeah, this was 12,265, have a 7-month window.
Is that even like possible? There's no way they called each other 12,000 times in 7 months.
The next one is a day later. It's again Mr. Winfrey calling Jeffrey's phone, right? No connection?
Yes, sir.
And then right under it, same scenario, same date, same time, but it's no connection, basically. Mr. Winfrey's calling Jeffrey Williams. Fair to say?
Correct.
So far, has Jeffrey Williams called Mr. Winfrey ever?
Objection, Your Honor, ever.
On these
I'll
records?
sustain the objection, Mr. Foreman.
Excuse me, I'm obviously talking about the records.
Agreed. On these records, what we're looking at, we have not yet seen the other number calling, the 3383.
And is that the first time that you remember, the jurors will remember too, that Jeffrey Williams' phone called Jimmy Winfrey's phone?
I mean, from what we've done today, yes.
Okay. And that would be May 6, 2015, right?
Correct.
And they were both from, if you didn't notice, they're both from Mr. Winfrey to Jeffrey Williams. Fair to say?
I believe that. That is what I recall. Yes, sir.
Okay. So out of the 70 plus hits, we have Jeffrey Williams calling Mr. Winfrey a total 3 times.
I believe that's accurate. Yes, sir.
Were you aware that, or do you associate this phone with a woman known as Dolly, by any chance, Jeffrey's sister Dolly? And if you don't, that's fine.
I've heard the name come up, but again, in reference to this incident, I didn't dig deep into, the sisters or the name, sir.
The sister had a relationship with Jimmy Winfrey in 2015. Were you aware of that?
I sustain the objection.
Oh, Jake's trying to say that Dolly and Jimmy Winfrey were talking like in conspiracy to do all this, and that Thug was using that phone also, and it was his sister's phone, but they were using that phone together to do all this. But he's trying to say that they were dating, so that's why they were talking a lot.
Do you remember on a jail call, if you remember, between Jimmy Winfrey and the sister talking about he cheated on me and we were going to get married? Remember that?
I don't remember that, sir. Okay. My investigation was focused on basically shooting and what happened and who did it at that time. I didn't investigate the sister or anything like that, no.
According to your investigation and the plots that you showed us, were those 2 phones together?
Objection, speculation is whether or not 2 phones were together.
I sustain the objection.
Based upon your work in this case, did the 2 phones diverge? Meaning one is sitting off a cell phone that the other one is not?
That's correct. They're at the same time at basically different towers, I would say.
Do you have any evidence that the sister was in the white Camaro?
I don't have any evidence that the sister was in the Camaro. I have no way to know the content of those phone calls. Brian Williams has a call that goes to incoming to Jimmy Winfrey after the incident, yes.
They speak.
Brian Steele's taking his time trying to show that Dolly was in a relationship with Jimmy Winfrey, change the narrative that the state put in the jury's minds.
I have no idea who's in the vehicles with him or who's driving. I have no idea.
Do you know whether the YSL Duke, I'm going to need help on the number, that phone is in the car with Jeffrey Williams?
I have no way of knowing that.
Evidence that you can share with the jury that Jeffrey Williams asked any person to go to Club Compound on April 25th, 2015 with a firearm.
I have no information in reference to that.
Do you have any evidence that on April 25, 2015, that Jeffrey Williams asked or encouraged any person to go to Club Compound at all?
I have no way of knowing that.
And to share with the jury that Jeffrey Williams requested, ordered, did anything to encourage anyone to fire a weapon at a tour bus?
Again, my investigation did not include that information. it could be information unknown to me, but
whatsoever that Jeffrey Williams knew about that tour bus shooting until the next day when he got back in jail.
Objection to the last part of the facts.
I sustain the question. So
Apparently Thug didn't even know that happened until the next day, is what Brian Steele's insinuating. But this is really good for the jury to hear that this is all conspiracy. Like, they don't really have any hard evidence that he ordered this hit on Lil Wayne, besides the fact that the guy was in YSL and there were some phone calls made. God, if I was on a jury, I'd be like, dude, this is just so tedious. We've been on this bus shooting for like 2 or 3 weeks now.
Do you have any evidence that Jeffrey Williams knew that tour bus was shot at any time before 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock a.m. on Sunday, April 26, 2015?
again, I have no way of knowing what was said on the phone calls or what information was passed. There's too many variables in there.
Authorized or told Jeffrey he needs to do that video. Did you do any of that type of work?
No, I have no idea who authorized or told me to do that video.
What I'm guessing Brian Steele's trying to do here is Brian Steele probably has information that one of his managers told him to make a promotional video for the show. It's a very common thing for rappers.
To try to speak with somebody in Jeffrey's management as to why that video was made, video audio posting was made.
No. Did I research how they do promotions?
Yeah. Did you talk to any experts? Did you go to any business people in that industry? Did you do that as part of this investigation?
No.
The entertainment narrative for certain things like this could come off as dumb, but he's trying to sway the jury a little bit in that way, but who knows if it's working.
Did I ever interview Dwayne Carter? No.
Did you ever interview him at all?
No.
Did you ever learn through your investigation how Jeffrey Williams met Jimmy Winfrey?
I don't know that.
And you looked into what Bankroll Mafia is, fair to say?
Again, not an extensive deep dive into the organization or what it is. Only surface level that it's on Instagram and on social media.
Bankroll Mafia to be a any type of business.
I don't-
business. I'm talking about lawful business.
Yeah, I don't know if it's incorporated or LLC. I don't know that.
Posts at the state have the Bankroll Mafia hashtag in it, and he's just showing the jury that this guy doesn't even know what that means.
Was a musical group through your investigation.
I mean, I know they said it. They would say it during like music, or it would be on clothing during music. But yeah, beyond that, I don't know.
Besides the music industry, do you have any evidence that Jeffrey Williams knew Jimmy Winfrey in any other matter?
I mean, besides the music industry,
Yeah, that how they met.
no. Again, I don't know how they met. But outside the music industry, we have the association through the cell phones and through the investigation. But yeah, that's such a broad question. I don't know what you're trying to ask.
Jeffrey Williams put on his page, you showed some of them, the Free Roscoe campaign, right?
That's correct.
And they were selling t-shirts
I believe that's correct.
and hats.
I believe that's correct.
How much money through your investigation was collected on behalf of this Free Roscoe campaign? Big budget.
I think let's move on.
How much money from the Free Roscoe campaign went to Jimmy Winfrey? I think it's relevant to the way the state brought it up, Your Honor. They played an entire recorded jail call about it.
I'll rule the objection.
I have no idea. I didn't investigate how much money was raised by a campaign. I have no idea.
Do you know whether a penny, I'm just saying any money, went to Jimmy Winfrey or his family from the Free Roscoe campaign?
From the Free Roscoe campaign, I have no idea about that specific campaign.
That's good for the jury to hear that Roscoe didn't really get any money from that campaign, I'm guessing. State tries to say that Thug funded a lot of this street shit because he had the money to fund it. There's no evidence or trail or anything that Thug funded shit.
What evidence do you have that Jeffrey Williams knew about that phone conversation or the topic of that conversation?
That specific phone call, I don't know that he did.
Do you have any evidence that Jeffrey Williams knew any of those inmates in the jail?
I don't know how I would know that.
I think you said that you don't have any evidence that Mr. Winfrey received any of a valuable $250,000 or Porsche. Is that true?
Correct. I have no way of knowing. He asked for someone to put his name on some paperwork to look legitimate because he didn't want it to look like street business. I do remember that.
Through your investigation, did YSL give Mr. Winfrey any type of notation that he's employed or anything like that?
I didn't receive anything that indicated as such.
Yak, or who was called Yak, states, quote, roll out the red carpet for Roscoe, unquote.
I do remember the red carpet and that. Yes, yes, sir.
Play the portion of that call starting when Yak gets on the call. And I'd like you to ask me to stop when you hear roll out the red carpet for Roscoe. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wait, listening to it again, even though you testified on Monday that you had heard Yak say roll out the red carpet for Roscoe. Did you hear Yak say roll out the red carpet for Roscoe right then?
On this check call, no.
You did not. Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Oh, did they get that wrong? Did they say he said something when he didn't? I think that's what Mr. Weinstein is pointing out. Miss Hilton up for redirect.
Did you try and interview Dwayne Carter after leaving the Mandarin Hotel?
Yes, I made phone calls.
Okay. And were you successful in being able to interview him?
I was not.
That's because Wayne ain't talking to the police.
Whether or not certain videos are promotional and things of that nature. Part of it.
I do recall that.
Did your investigation regarding the shooting on the morning of April 26th, was that a real life shooting and not a promotional video?
It was a real life shooting, yes.
Do you personally know how many phones Mr. Jeffrey Williams had on April 26, 2015?
I'll rule the objection.
I don't know how many phones Mr. Williams had.
Do you remember that video seeing them on stage together?
Yes.
If two people on stage together in the same city at the same time, do you expect them to be talking to each other on the phone?
I think.
I withdraw. What did your investigation reveal as to who had a beef with Lil Wayne?
Basis.
You're saying?
Overruled, sir. Overruled. Overruled.
The investigation revealed that the beef was between Jeffrey Williams and Dwayne Carter.
Can't name the mixtape Carter 6 because these ass niggas trying to sue. Just like some hoes, I'm a big old blood, so I'm going barter 6 on the way.
I do recall that, yes.
Did your investigation reveal who had a series of albums called The Carter prior to Mr. Williams?
I am aware of who had the albums Carter before.
Who was it?
That's Dwayne Carter had the Carter series.
Were the associates Jeffrey Williams, based on your investigation, at Club Compound the night of April 25th into April 26th?
Objection. Associates of Jeffrey Williams.
I stand objection.
Were there individuals in the course of your investigation who had made contact with Jeffrey Williams via the telephone at the Club Compound on the night of April 25th and April 26th?
Objection to no one made contact with his telephone. That's the proper question.
That's fine, I'll rephrase.
Oh, yeah, I'll stand objection.
Associate, so it's guilty by association, pretty much is what I'm hearing, dude. Since YSL was a gang and someone under YSL committed a crime, everyone can be charged for RICO, even though Thug didn't order it or have anything to do with it. He was across the country touring.
Phone numbers of individuals associated with Jeffrey Williams, their phones pinging off towers, following the same direction of the bus as it was traveling back to the hotel on the morning of April 26th.
Object.
Basis.
Questions.
What's the basis of objection, sir?
Let's go by association.
That's not an objection, sir. Oh,
He just said to go by association.
if you've got a proper objection I can pose, I'll listen to it.
The same Jimmy Winfrey who was on a phone with, on a jail call with Mr. Williams, is that phone pinging in the same direction of the bus going back toward their hotel?
Yes.
Objection's opinion in the direction of the bus.
Oh, sir.
And after the shooting, is the 1990 number pinging off a cell tower or hitting off of a cell tower? And the general
This is all speculation. It's literally all conspiracy. It's up to the jury if they believe it or not. It's not solid evidence. It's just all speculation that Thug was on the other end of one of these phones.
area that the Jimmy Winfrey phone is pinging off of another cell tower in the same area near the Vault Studios.
Basis. I'll stand.
All right, so the jury went home for the day, and tomorrow's only a 3-hour day, and then all of next week they're off.
Is put in the actual written document without the 911 call, without the 911 caller. How are you, as the finder of the law, supposed to say, yeah, this is an excited utterance? All you have is a document. You don't know if this was an hour after it. You don't know if the person's laughing on the other end of the phone. You don't know. We don't know anything, and that's my problem with the admission of all this. This is just a trial by a document without a witness, without even the 911 call, which 911 call don't have the witnesses, but at least you have, like you did earlier in the trial, this is confrontation clause under Pitt, so this is not, this is just hearsay. So I just want to point that out to you. I don't believe that it's admissible without more context, because all it is the CAD report, as Ms. Latner has said many times, it's just another person who is filtering information from the police. My point is, we have no witnesses here. There's 0 witnesses for these events, and I don't even know how it came in.
I don't know how they keep getting shit in with no witnesses to cross-examine. Like,
1, we will have a responding officer testifying. 2, we will have a witness further down in the trial who will talk about the fight and the incident, what ensued after the fight. It's included in 2 of our witnesses, or at least 2 statements that were given to the police.
all right, boys, that's pretty much it. A lot happened in this video. Hopefully I edited together pretty well. The state did a better job at connecting Thug to this, but I still feel like it's speculative, and the jury is going to have to decide if they believe it or not. The whole conspiracy, it's a conspiracy. Hit subscribe, join the channel membership. Thank you, Schardt, for sponsoring this video. Click the link below. It's only $8 for your first month.
Drink